it's Melissa Hoff here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I just want to do a short tutorial, a start to finish video on monogramming using the Brother PE770 embroidery machine. Also, I do have a MacBook Pro, so I'll be using that, and the software that I use is in Brilliance. So you will see how I put this file together and save it so that I can transfer it onto my machine and have it stitch out. However, because of time and the fact that I want this video to be pretty to the point, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the software, how to use it, where I get monogram fonts from, stuff like that. If you are interested in those things or want to know about something more specific in this process, just feel free to drop a comment below. I'll be more than happy to do a video kind of explaining those things a little bit more. So first things first, I'm going to be monogramming a pullover for my daughter. It is a Sherpa, so that's going to be another aspect that'll be good to learn about. So I have Brilliance software on my computer, and I have my computer up. When you open Brilliance, it will open to a blank page like this. There is on the top a letter A, and it's for creating lettering designs. I am going to select that, and it pops up a little ABC. I have monogram specific fonts, and they are better than just a generic embroidery font that you can purchase online, because they will arrange the letters according to a monogram, where depending on where the letter is in the monogram, it may look a little bit different, and the sizing is different depending on where the letter is located as well. So I'm going to select font here on the bottom right, and I am going to do the Designs by Juju Circle Block Monogram 2 inches. Then I'm going to select the text and backspace it, and I'm going to put the monogram letters I want with the H in the middle, just like my daughter's last name, and then I hit set. Once I do that, as you can see, it puts it right there. You can resize items on here. The general rule is not to resize too large or too small, because you are stretching and condensing stitches, so it can cause you to have more problems once you try and stitch this out on your machine if you stretch a file too big or condense it too small. Typically when you do buy fonts, it comes with multiple sizes so that you are not in the situation where you need to do that very much. Okay, once I have the letters arranged like I'd like inside the Brilliance application, I plug in my USB. I have only found that there are 2 USBs that work with PES embroidery files. One of those is a Brother, which you can purchase on Amazon, and the other is the Staples brand. So I have the Staples brand. I plug that in, and then I go up here to File, and I will hit Save As, Stitch and Working File. So there are multiple saves, and this is the one you need to do. So Stitch and Working. You'll see it says My Designs /PES. And I'm going to do a 2 so that it comes up pretty quickly. When it comes to where, you just click this and you will select your USB disk. And it shows that it's a PES file. And I use this software so that I can open these PES files, because typically a computer does not have the capacity to open a PES embroidery file without an application. So once that's saved, I just go to Finder and I eject my USB disk, and I wait on my USB to stop flashing, and then I'm ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so the next thing is going to be taking your USB and getting this file onto your machine and ready to stitch. So the first thing you do is plug in your machine, and then on the right hand side there's a little push button that turns it on. It says please touch the display. So you touch the display, and then it says the carriage of the embroidery unit will move, and you select OK. And this is the carriage. You have to be very careful with this, because if that messes up, the machine will no longer work properly. On here, I hope you can see, you have about 8 options. On the bottom row, the third one, starting from the right, is going to be for USBs. So in the side, you have a USB port. I put this in here. Oops, I have it backwards. and I just give it a second. It starts flashing, and then I select that button. Retrieving the pattern, please wait a moment. Here, the designs will pop up. It is a touch screen, so you will select on the touch screen when you find it, but underneath there are arrows, and basically I will scroll through until I find it. And here I see the monogram that I created on that file. I touch it to select. You see that it turns dark. And then at the top is like a little export button. So I hit export. Once it gets to this screen, it means that it is basically ready to stitch your file. I'm gonna set up everything on my hoop, and then we'll come back to this screen once I attach the hoop, and we can adjust where the machine is gonna start stitching this so it's placed like I'd like it on the sweater. Okay, so now we're ready to set up our item. So this is gonna be the item that we are gonna monogram. So I'm gonna monogram this. The other things that I have are tape, scissors, your hoop for your embroidery machine. I'm using a 5x7 hoop. I honestly always use this. The other two things that I use are a stabilizer. I use this Stiffy Crisp Firm Tearaway Stabilizer. I get this from Joann's Fabrics. And this goes on the bottom of the fabric. And then I also use this stabilizer, and I'm gonna use this stabilizer, which is a water-soluble stabilizer. I'm gonna use this on top, and this is gonna help keep that Sherpa material pressed down so that the needle doesn't get caught in it as it tries to stitch it out. Next, I'm going to use this pattern stick temporary adhesive. This is what I use when I float items, and sometimes, honestly, I use it even if I'm not floating items, just to keep the fabric secure with the stabilizer. So you shake it up, and you spray it. It doesn't take that much. Then I am going to take the hoodie and turn it almost inside out, but where I can still see this piece. And I'm going to place it so that the tape where I marked is as straight up and down on this hoop as possible. And this is what that looks like. So I sprayed the adhesive, and then I found this part and pressed it against. So it's pretty up and down straight in comparison with this. It doesn't really matter left or right as long as you have enough room for the monogram, but just that it's straight up and down so that your monogram isn't crooked. So I did this, and this is gonna stick. It will come off because it's a temporary adhesive, but it sticks pretty well, but I would just be careful with it as I place it. And as you can see on this side, this is gonna be the side that attaches to my machine. These notches, the opening is faced downward. That's because that is the bottom, and that is how it's gonna hook onto your machine. So when you're securing something, you always wanna make sure that those openings are downward. The last thing I'm gonna do is cut a piece of this Solvay water-soluble stabilizer, and this is gonna be for the top. I actually got this one on Amazon, but I think they carry it at Joann's Fabrics as well. I just got it on Amazon because Joann's is honestly farther from my house, and it's not convenient to drive to it. So I hate to go there for just one thing. And I'm just cutting a piece off. What this is gonna do is help hold this fabric down as the needle stitches so that it doesn't get caught in this Sherpa material. I am going to hold this down as it stitches tight. Some people hoop this inside the hoop with the bottom stabilizer, the one that's more hard, and their fabric. But because I'm floating this item, because it won't go in the hoop because it's too thick, I'm gonna float this on top of it as well. You cannot use an adhesive to keep this on. This is water soluble, so as soon as it gets wet, this dissolves. Okay, back to my machine. So here's my machine. It's all set up to stitch that monogram right there. And I have this ready. So I look and see, this is the connection on this side. And remember how I talked about these two notches that open? Those are going to connect to these two notches. So I press down the fabric, slide up under this, and if you need this to raise, there is a lever back here which you can lift, and that will lift up a little bit so you can push the fabric underneath that. And then just be careful when you put this on. Sometimes this can be a little hard to get on. Okay.
Wait, but I was going to let you out.
Hold on one second, Noah.
Let you in here.
Okay, so I'm sliding this underneath, and I'm trying to move an inch that top fabric underneath so that I can expose the fabric that I would like to stitch on. Once I have that done, then I'm going to pick up this and line it up, and then take this little lever and pull it, and then set those pieces down in those notches. Okay, so I have it on there. So now it is secure. And this is what it looks like when it's connected. So when I connected it, I pulled this lever back, and you will also pull that lever back when you want to release it and pop your hoop off this machine, but just be careful handling this. So I pushed the lever back, lined up the notches with those two circles, and then pressed it on there. As you can see, I have moved all the fabric so that the only fabric is the fabric that I actually want this machine to stitch on. However, you see where my cross is, the needle is a little to the left of that. So what you're going to do if you want your design to move is come to your touch screen, and you're going to hit adjust, and then you're going to hit layout. And you're going to hit, for example, to the right. And it's moving it little by little to the right. When it seems like it's perfectly centered, and you can move it up or down too, then what you're gonna do is hit this button right here. And what this does is it just moves over the perimeter of the stitches, so you know where all is going to be stitched. So I'm going to hit this button, but I'm going to focus over here so that you can see how it does that. So I hit that button, and then it takes me to this screen, and then I just hit this again. If that is exactly where you want it to be, then you are good to go. So you come back to this screen, and you would hit back, and then you would also hit back again until you're at this main screen. Okay, now I have this placed here. So underneath here, there's a lever in the back, and I am just going to push this lever all the way down, and you'll see that red button turns green. That means that your machine is ready to stitch. If you have thread break as well, that will turn red, so you'll know that something's wrong and the machine will stop, as well as if you run out of bobbin. So this kind of indicates whether the machine is ready or not. So now I'm just going to put the camera down, but I'm going to let you still see what I'm doing, and then I'm going to hold this stabilizer on top, and I'm going to hit this green button, and the machine will start stitching. Okay, so I'm ready, and I'm just going to hit start. Okay, and then the light turns red when it's done, letting you know that it's done. You just lift up that lever in the back, and then we'll take it off. So when you take it off, and it automatically cuts the thread for you. You can hit OK on finished sewing. But I just moved this fabric away from this arm and push this button back and then lift the hoop. And it pops off. I don't yank it because I just don't want to pull on the piece that stitches, but I carefully push the fabric underneath it, lifting up on that lever if I need to, until I can get the hoop out from underneath the machine. And this is what I am left with. So now I unscrew the hoop to loosen it, and it pops out. Take this off. I will cut this away. You can also tear it, but sometimes I find it looks better if you just cut it. And I will trim up the excess thread from where it was moving from one connection point to the next. And then once I do that, I will come here to the outside. I can give it a wash and this will dissolve, or you could just wet it and it will dissolve. And I will also just clip off all the extra thread on that part as well. Okay, so I'm all done. So this is what it looks like on the inside after you tear the stabilizer away. So it's just thread. It looks really good. And then when you turn it inside out, this is how it looks. So this is the monogram on the shirt for my child. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, or you want to see something specific, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, drop a comment below, and I will try and help you the best that I can. Thank you so much.